Yeah. Okay, everybody. Hey, this is Joe Bullis, MELS 602 clinical coach, and it is June the 12th, 2019. I hope everybody is doing well. I appreciate you coming on board tonight and joining class. It is being recorded, and so of course I'll send it out um, through email and then put it in the video library and in the internship shell. Before we begin, does anybody have any questions? Tonight we're going to just do a real quick review of internship shells. I don't even know that we need to do it for you all at this point in time, but just to kind of go over the process in the internship shell. And then we're going to talk about task 3 and task 4 of the APTL. But as I said a while ago, if anybody's got any questions, we'll go ahead and take that. And then, of course, you know, ask a question wherever you want to, unmute yourself, or type it in on the chat box now or during or at the end of the presentation. And we'll do our best to answer.
Dr. Bullis, I have a question.
Sure.
My school ended on May 22nd. We were done.
Wow.
So, yeah, we are a modified year round, which was great, but it's tough to, you know, observe. So what I was going to do was just create a survey and send that out to my staff and get feedback from the teachers on teacher leadership that way.
Mm-hmm.
Is that acceptable to just do that?
It is. Dr. Lamb said something a couple of, I don't know if it was a town hall meeting or a faculty meeting a while back, you know, maybe at the very beginning of this semester, that preferred not to do surveys, preferred it to be a checklist, and I'll get back to that. You're going to be fine, but preferred it be a checklist that you could go out and do some observations. But, you know, in theory, that sounds good. It's always better to do that observation and have that kind of interaction. But when you're looking at a summer semester and you have people, you know, we finished on the 29th, but you finished on the 22nd, it's really hard to go and observe and check off some of those best practices that you would see when the building's empty. So, you know, just as you do that survey, try to arrange those questions, and you may have already done it, and that's fine. But try, when you do that type of survey, try to arrange those survey questions on having the participant kind of reflect on what they did. So less opinionated survey, less of a you know, what do you think about this, or in your opinion type question, and more like, as you reflect, you know, can you think of an example when you did this in the classroom, or when you did that, and bring in those best practices then. Actually, I think Dr. Wilson and I had a conversation about this week, because it is a little bit difficult this time of year to do those checklists and observations. And so, you know, I always encourage, while you got them in the building before school's out, try to get it done then. If not, then try to reflect yourself on what you've noticed. That checklist that you devised, think about that checklist, and then reflect on what you've noticed the last couple of weeks of school. Or if you've been at that school for a long time, then your knowledge of what's going on in that school is acceptable. That type of data is acceptable in a scenario like this. Of course, if you were a principal, you know, and doing this, you know, in a school, then you would time it better, and rather than do it this time of year. But yeah, what you just said is fine. You know, it's a necessity at this point in time that if it is a survey and you do send that out, just send it out within the context of having the participant reflect on what they know about their teaching practice, and you know, and be honest about that. So it will help you in your coursework. And I hope you went ahead and told them ahead of time, hey, I'm going to be emailing you guys, and you got some commitments to respond, because your response rate may be a little low, you know, being, of course, summertime.
I have kind of a follow-up to that. So my understanding of looking at that is that the checklist is supposed to be about teacher leadership, like in the building and practices. Is it also supposed to be teaching practice, or is it just supposed to be, because my checklist was basically just leadership?
Yeah, each of those, I'm gonna scroll back at your checklist. Should be based off of what you researched in the APTL within these categories here. So the questions and the checklist needs to be about in efficacy and empowerment, the professional development that they may have engaged in during the year, the recruitment, placement, mentoring practices. You can get a couple of BLTs and have them reflect on the mentorship. That will be good. So you kind of base your checklist off of these areas here. So yeah, and so to answer your question, yes, it's not about instructional practice.
Okay.
It's about empowerment.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify. Thanks.
Sure. Great questions. Thank you. Any other questions before we continue? Okay. Well, to go back real quick, and I don't think this is an issue at this point in time, but just so I don't think there's anybody new in this group. Some in my 603 and 605, I got some people who had to step out a couple of semesters because of whatever reason, medical, family crisis, whatever, and then step in this semester. I don't think I have anybody like that here in in 602, MELS 602. But just to kind of the process, put it here in review first. When you get the green light from your course instructor, and I know some of you, two groups are combined here, so some of you may have one course instructor, and some of you may have another course instructor. So whatever their process is for telling you, okay, you can go ahead and submit to the internship shell, just submit it here to review. We'll do like we have in the past. I'll review it and give feedback. I'm all caught up with your cohort today and giving feedback on what was posted while I was out of town. And I've almost caught up on I did on two MELS 602 and 603. I'm all caught up, and 605 I'm about halfway caught up. But for your group, I'm all caught up and giving feedback and review. Once we go through that process, I'll tell you to submit it to Dropbox. You submit it here to Dropbox and get the grade. And just as before with the APTL, you'll do task 1, get a grade from it. Task 2, get a grade from it. Task 3, get a grade from it. Task 4, get a grade from it. Then you combine all that into one document. And once you get to that point, you submit it to the final evidence narrative, which is the turn it in process. You'll get a grade from that, and then you submit to Task Stream. We have another Zoom session in a couple of weeks, and I'll go over all the Task Stream once again and what you need there as we wrap up the semester and those process. But here in the internship shell, I just wanted to review that real quick. Some templates are here, some content information. The video library is here. So just a quick reminder of where all that's at. If you have any questions on it, let me know. And in looking at, let's see, what did I do? What did I do with that? Well, let me bring up the handbook. I think I didn't think that I had closed it out, but apparently I did. So hold just a second. I've got it here. Okay. So in the APTL Task 3, what you're going to do is and take your Task 1 and your Task 2 information, and you are going to create a narrative about what you found out, assembling a team of colleagues. It can be electronic, or you may have already done that and just write it up. But if it has to be an electronic PLC, that's fine. But you're going to more or less kind of create a presentation of the Task 1 and Task 2, and identify, once you utilize that checklist, identify those gaps or needs that you think needs to be addressed. And so you're going to make a presentation, making recommendations to school leadership. So it's going to be like an action plan. It follows the same type of process which you've had this conversation before as the APSL. And you're at the point now where you're going to develop a growth plan on these different areas as you looked through empowerment, professional development, recruitment, placement, mentoring, evaluation of the staff, teacher leadership and decision making. As you look through that and seen, are those evident in my building? If there's some that's not evident or some that's not as strong, then you're going to devise a growth plan on how to improve those areas. If you're good in that area and all the feedback and all the data you collected shows that you're good in that area, you can highlight that. You can show the data. You don't have to make a growth plan on something that doesn't need to be improved, or some other area may be a higher priority for your school. But you certainly want to show what you found out in this presentation. And in that presentation, you're going to show the visual checklist. You want to show where the gaps are, and then you're going to talk and discuss and show your plan. And this is working with a team of colleagues to present this teacher empowerment and leadership professional growth plan to school administration. Now, you do all that, and you get it all ready, and you got good feedback from your team, and you develop it. Well, the principal's gone on vacation, so or your leadership can't meet with you now because they may be busy doing a lot of things. Go ahead and do the presentation and the growth plan anyway. To move from a proficiency to an accomplished, to move from a level 3 to a level 4, the only thing you need to do for 4 points in the APTL Task 3 is just video record. So record yourself or but record yourself. And if your team joins in, that's great. But you record yourself giving that presentation. And for some reason you can't get in front of your principal right now, then just do the recording, and kind of like what we do with our Zoom sessions sometimes. And then you can show it to the principal later. But then you can show evidence that you did video record that presentation, addressing those needs and showing that growth plan. So that'll get you a 4 on the APTL anyway. You just need to make sure that you include all of the following, as it says here. Strategies for building efficacy, opportunity, structures for implementation of effective PLCs, that can be a part of that. Coaching and emerging school leaders, and method for formal feedback for teachers. You can incorporate all that in what you found out, because that's all part of shared leadership and empowerment. And it says multiple uses of digital tools and technology are evident. Of course, if it's a PowerPoint or you do a Zoom recording yourself, then you can do that. If you want to do it electronically, and you get your Zoom brought up, get your team to come on and Zoom with you one afternoon or one evening, get your principal to join in that Zoom, and then share your screen, pull your presentation up on the screen, and record that Zoom session of you giving this. Man, that hits all these bullets here. That hits the presentation, presenting it, incorporating your team in the presentation, presenting to leadership, and then it shows multiple use of digital tools and technology. So that may be something that you want to consider in doing this. It's less intrusive on people, so they don't have to come into the building or make a time to meet. It can be more convenient if you just Zoom with your team to accomplish task 3. But basically what it is you're just developing a growth plan, and before you introduce the growth plan, you show what you found out in task 1 and task 2. Any questions about task 3?
Whenever we go to record the video, like you're talking about, Dr. Bullis,
yes, sir.
Would it be better to have that as like an MP4 file and upload that with your docs file to TaskStream, or would it be better to, I guess, not embed it, but have like a link to it like put the video in Drive and then just have a link to it and make sure that sharing on it is on public so anybody with the link can view it. Which one would be better?
Either one, whatever you're comfortable with. That's another evidence of using multiple tools. Whatever you're comfortable with, either will work and be fine. You could even upload it, as I do, upload it to YouTube and just put the YouTube link in there. Let them go to YouTube. That might be the simplest, but whatever you're comfortable with, any three of those options will work fine. Just make sure they do work, and of course I can do that when I hit the review. I always check the links and so on and so forth to make sure they work. I'll let you know if they don't. But yeah, any of those are fine, Levi. You have good questions tonight. Thank you. Anything else on task 3 at this point? Okay, well, we'll go down to task 4, but task 4 is relatively simple. You just reflect on those competencies. You want to focus in on the competencies that you didn't reflect in the ABSL. So by the end of this semester, you will have wanted to address at least every competency once. And there's multiple opportunities for you to do that in the APTL as well as the ABSL. If you're finding a hard fit, let me know and we can look over some of your information and see if we can make it fit. But just keep in mind, it's fine. It's not a penalty, and it's not a do or die situation. Because at the end of 605, this won't be officially reviewed until the end of 605. And at the end of 605, as I've said to you before, each of those competencies have to be have an artifact linked to them from 2 evidences and 1 open-ended. But I'm talking task string and competency folio now, so let me get off that track and back to this task 4. And task 4, it says in the rubric to contribute it to the development of 13 of the competencies. That's a guideline. It's not. As long as you address the ones that you didn't address in the ABSL, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. But the evaluator, and I don't know who the evaluators are, they may be looking for those 13 competencies. So it would probably be good to pick out 13 to do that in the rubric. So let me pull back a little bit what I said there. I don't want to be too flexible with you, and then it hurts you when you get evaluated. And after that, you're done with the APTL. Then you can focus on the task stream stuff and get this 10-week semester done. Any questions? All right. I'll be happy to stay on here as long as you need me to. We might have hit a new record here because it's 19 minutes into the presentation, and I don't hear any questions or anything like that. So we might be able to cut out a little bit early tonight. But like I said, I am happy to stay here as long as I can help anybody. And once again, July the 4th, I did want to mention that July the 4th is coming up. I think I told you I may be gone out of town that Tuesday, Wednesday, only for a couple of days, but I'm not going anywhere, long or far away or where I can't, have cellular service or email or anything like that. So if you wanted to set up something that week, just let me know, and I'll be happy to set up a Zoom session with you or your group. And as always, I'll be happy to set up an individual session or small group session as the need arises. So just want to make sure that I keep reminding you of that. I'm here for you, and we'll just try to work it out where our schedule, my schedule, and your schedule can mesh, and we'll meet and talk. So that's all I have tonight, unless anybody has a last-minute question or comment.
I do. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Hey, I'm Shauna. I am, I wasn't in 601 with the rest of them. I started back in 2015.
Okay.
So I did a lot of every component back then. Back then it was before it changed to each component was done each semester. So when the rest click off, can I talk to you for a minute?
Oh, absolutely. Sure. Absolutely.
Because they don't want to hear. I'm sure they don't want to hear.
Well, yeah, and that is not a problem, and I'm glad you came up. Like I said, I wasn't sure if I had anybody in this cohort, so I'm glad you spoke up. And yeah, we'll certainly spend some time and go over some things with you. Make sure you're in good shape
Well, because there's a lot of, like, I know I didn't do back then. We had anyway. I know they don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
So
It's a lot has changed since 2015.
It has.
Yeah, I've been doing this adjunct work for Gardner Webb for several years and went through all that. So I can imagine what you're having to transition to. So
oh yeah, it's been a little crazy. So yes.
All right. So does anybody have any questions or any last minute comments? Okay, great. I will post this recording. I'll start recording when Shauna and I start doing our session, but I will post the recording up to this point. Like I'll send it to you in email as I always do, put it on Video Library, but reach out to me if I can help. I hope you guys have a great evening. God bless you all. I hope you and your family stay safe and healthy, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.